And that was the Proclaimers. I would walk 10,000 miles. And here's just a little bit of a question. 10,000 miles, is 10,000 a square number? And if you think it is, explain to me why it is. Okay, so you can put that on your comments later on. So today we're going to concentrate on trigonometry. This is trigonometry 2, so we're going to extend what we've learned, and we are also going to look at angles. So the learning objectives of this morning is to recap on what we've already learnt on trigonometry 1, and also to work on finding an angle, which I've indicated on this position here. So if we have a look at this first question I put down here, this is a good way of remembering what's going on. The first thing to remember is that actually what we've got to think about is labelling sides, and that's the first thing to do. So in this little question here, you can see me dropping in on a ramp on a skateboard, and what I know that the length of the ramp is 15, that should be meters actually, not centimeters. Okay, and the height is what I want to know. How high do I need to climb up this ramp before I can drop in down the ramp? So the first thing to do is consider the where the angle is. So the angle's there. We've got two sides. The third one is blank, so I'm just going to ignore that. And the first side that I'm going to look at is this one here. Now this is opposite the right angle. So what do you think that is? That's right, it's the hypotenuse. So we can write hypotenuse, and just for short, saves a little bit of time, I'm going to shorten that to hype. Okay, so going across the page, okay, what do you think that H is going to come to? And yes, you're right, it's the opposite. And just to shorten it, OPP. And this one here would actually be the adjacent, and the adjacent is a word for meaning next to, and i.e. next to the angle. Okay, so that's the first thing. Now, do I need to label this? Well, some teachers say yes, label it and cross it out, but I'm just going to leave it blank because I only want two of these sides. Two sides are important, not three. So now I'm going to write out this word. Okay, so it's Sokotoa. Nothing to do with Japanese, but it sounds a little bit Japanese. Now notice the O is raised up. This helps you when you write down the formulas later on, and also splitting it into three parts. Now today I'm going to highlight these because these are really important. That goes together, so that goes together, and that goes together. And then of those three, only one is going to, I'm going to zoom in a little bit, we've got a little bit more clarity today, a bit more focus, but it's still a little bit small down there. So what I'm going to do here is going to pick which one of those represents O and H. Have a think for a second. And it is the first one because that's got an O and H, that's got an A and H but no O and H, that's got an O but not a H, so it's got to be that one. So I'm going to use that, I'm going to write it out, sine for S equals opposite over hypotenuse. Now remember, sine, sin, cos, cosine, tan, tangent, we only use the three letters as a shortened version, and that's because on your calculator that's how it fits on to the actual buttons. But actually the full name is sine, cosine and tangent. I think it's important you are aware of that. So that's one mark out of three, and then we can put in some of these numbers. Sine or sin of the angle 35 equals opposite, I don't know what that is, so I'm going to leave it as a H, divided by 15. And you can see that O means that's the highest one, okay, which is the H there. Now at this point, alright, we can figure out what to do next, and that's 2 marks, and every single trigonometry question is the same. Label, pick the right one for the function, write it out, sub it in, 2 marks. The third mark is the actual calculation part. Now on this I've got to divide by 15 on that side, so I really don't want that divide by 15, so I'm going to do the opposite function of divide by 15, which is times by 15. Now given that this is equation and balances on that equals point, I've got to do the same on the other side. But what happens is this 15 here and this 15 cancel. 15 divided by 15 is 1, which is the same number. So my answer for H is going to be 15 times sine 35. Now on a Casio calculator we've discussed that we need brackets in there at that point, okay, and put it straight onto here, okay, 15 times sine 35, close the brackets. There we go, just a little close up of that just to make sure you go, it's exactly the same. That on the calculator is exactly the same as what's on there, and then we can press equals and it's 8.6. Now you've got to read in your question here, what degree of accuracy do you need? If you're not sure, I would suggest 1 decimal point, 8.6. okay. We're not quite finished there because we've got a situation here of looking at the accuracy but also looking at the units. Now I changed that to meters, so that's 8.6 meters, and what is useful in brackets is just to tell whoever's looking at this work what you've rounded that number to. So I'm just going to say 1 decimal point. You're not necessarily going to get a mark for that, but again, read the question carefully because it's in there. Okay, now I want to do a little check on that. If we've got time in the GCSE exam, I'd like a little check. And the thing is, at this point here, we've got a trick. Now, you can use the trick by all means, but understanding the maths is better. But it is a nice little way of just having a little check to see we've done the right calculation here. So all I need to do is transfer all of that into this little triangle diagram, and as I said before, we use this in physics for speed, distance and time, so you're all familiar with it. That means divide, that means times, cover the one you want to find, and you've got sine 35 times 15, which is here, and that gives us our answers. Just a little check to make sure you're okay. Alright, so let's pause there for a second and we'll have a commercial break. Well, it's not quite a commercial break, but a little break. So last time we looked at BIDMAS, but this time I want to just go over a little bit of a trick on your calculator. Alright, now a calculator is interesting because it's got different modes. In fact, there's actually 3 ways of measuring angles. You've got degrees, you've got radians, and you've got gradients. Now, radians and gradients are used in A-level and really important in A-level, but they're not needed at GCSE. So if your calculator is measuring in radians or gradients, you're going to get the answer wrong. And if you look up here, this little corner, you've got a D there. Okay, so it's very easy to put this calculator in the wrong mode simply by all you got to do is hit the mode button in your bag or put it in your pocket and you're in the wrong mode. So little break here just to let you know, really good idea to reset your calculator quite every so often, especially before an exam or something like that. Okay, and what you need to do here is you need to go shift and then see this button here, 9, just above it, let me zoom in for you, it says CLR, and that's clear the memory. So shift and 9, and you get this situation here, just clear all, agree with that, yes, press AC, and we're back to beginning, but it's cleared the memory. It's like doing a factory reset. And Casio, they've set this calculator up for GCSE only, not A-level, so if you do a factory reset, you're in the exact mode. Okay, so do that every so often. And here's a final trick. If you're not sure about angles, whether you're in the right mode or not, if you put sine 30 into your calculator, it should always give you a half. Boom. There we go. half it is. Alright, and then just to confirm, half 0.5 is SD. Okay, interestingly, SD, I thought it always should be FD, fractions to decimal, but just recently I've discovered that S stands for standard mode. So the standard mode to decimals. Standard mode is fractions. Just an interesting little point. Okay, now we go back to our questions. So far you've learned how to find a missing side, but you could be in a situation where you need to find a missing angle. So I meant to draw this question out for you earlier, but it doesn't take a second to set one up. Alright, so in this question here, we're going to have a right angle triangle again. Remember, trigonometry is all about right angles. If it's not got a right angle, you're not going to be using trigonometry. Well, not strictly true actually, because you've got sine rule, cosine rule, but let's not get bogged down in that for today. So looking at this question then, so this time I'm going to mark that angle there, but I don't know what it is. Okay, and I'm going to give it a letter. In fact, I'm going to do it correctly and give it the Greek letter theta. And theta is renowned for being the missing angle. But you could have a question where it's just x or something similar to that. Okay, it's just a letter, but we like to give it, the proper term is using the Greek alphabet in maths, and that's a theta. Okay, so in this case, I'm going to say that this is a ladder against a wall. Okay, so here's the wall. Okay, and I know that ladder is 7 meters long. Okay, but I also know that this distance here is going to be 6 meters long, and what I want to know is what that angle is. So how am I going to go about this? So the first thing is we're going to do exactly the same as what we've done up here. We're going to label the angles, the sides. We're going to pick the trigonometry function. We're going to substitute in, and we're going to go from there. So let's have a look then. This one here is the biggest side, and it's opposite the right angle, so that's called the hypotenuse. And this side here, is it next to the angle? No. Is it opposite the angle? Yes. So it's opposite the angle, so therefore this is going to be the opposite. Okay, opposite and hypotenuse. Now it just so happens it's probably going to be sine again, but it wasn't. It could be sine, cos or tan, but we'll need to use this system to really check it is sine. Okay, easy to remember, SOHCAHTOA. Okay, I'm going to get my highlighter. I'm going to highlight one bit of it this time. So we've got opposite, O and H. So I'm looking for OH. OH, yes. But let's look at these just in case. AH, no. OA, no. OH is the one I want. So I'm going to use that, sine. Okay, write it out in full. Sin or sine will do. Okay, remember the reason why though, that's the important bit. Just why do you shorten it? It's mainly to do with the calculator, but you're okay leaving it as sin, you'll still get full marks. Okay, so next bit is substituting the values. So this time we've got sin of the angle, we don't know it, but we know it's theta. The opposite matches up to a 6. The hypotenuse matches up to a 7. So you've got your 1 mark there for your GCSE, and you've got your 1 mark there, and it's out of 3. So now we need to know what to do next. Now this is a little bit separate to what we've done on sides. We need a function, and the way this function works, it's like a reverse function in maths. So in maths, everything's got an undo, a reverse. So if you step forward 1 pace, you step back 1 pace. If you multiply by 2, the reverse of that's divide by 2. So everything's got a reverse. So this means that sine of the angle is 6 over 7. Okay, so we need to undo sine of the angle, which makes this, to get back to the angle. So what we need to do is use the -1 button. The reverse sine, inverse sine, it's known as reverse sine function, and it looks like that. minus 1. So where is the sine minus 1 button? Well, it's very easy to find, because actually it is just the sign, but just above it, it's a little bit unclear here, but in this orangey bit there it says sine to the minus 1. Just check that with your own calculator. I know it's a little bit blurry with my camera, maybe that's a bit more focus, but that orange bit. So when you use an orange function on a calculator, you got to press shift first. So let's have a go. So we press shift first, and then we're going to press sine, but we're actually using sine minus 1 at the top, and then we've got 6 over 7. Now this is a fraction, so I like to use the fraction button, which is that one there. 6 at the top, use that button to go down, 7 at the bottom. Now let's get the right words down. 6 for the numerator, 7 for the denominator. Close the brackets, press your equals, again 1 decimal place, 58.99. now you got 99 there, so actually when you round that to 1 decimal place, you're actually, because that goes to 10, that 1 decimal place, it makes 59.0 is our final answer. Don't forget the degrees for the units, and also just manners, I think, just to say, hey examiner, I've rounded this to 1 decimal place. There we go, 59 degrees 1 decimal place. 3 marks out of 3. And actually, once you've done a couple of these, it's the same thing every time, and it's easy marks. Okay, so let's have a look at our question of the day. Alright, if I can find it. Oh, there's the answers. Better not look at that. Here we go. So the question of the day, over to Batman again. So Penguin is planting a bomb at the Gotham High School. So we've got the distance here from the light to his bat sign being 19 kilometers in distance, and then you've got the distance directly to Penguin. Okay, so we need that angle there. So if we mark that angle in, and again you can call it any letter you want, but I quite like using the correct Greek letter theta. Okay, missing angle in maths is a theta. Okay, it's just a missing angle, nothing to worry about. Okay, so what do we do now? Just like before, label everything you've got. Okay, so we've got opposite here. Well, that doesn't really count because it's blank. Again, we could write it in and cross it out, but I'm not going to. This one here, opposite the right angle, so that's got to be the hypotenuse. And this one here is next to the angle, so that's going to be adjacent. So Sokotoa, highlighter. Okay, big question. Which one of those is this going to be? I'm going to give you a second to think about it. Bing bong. Yes, you are correct. We've got the adjacent and hypotenuse, so it's going to be cos. There we go. So we're going to use cos on this one. Okay. Oh, and we've got a message from Lydia Rumsey. Well done, Lydia. There'll be a pack of Haribo going to you when we get back. She is correct here, and it's 100 times 100 for our 10,000. Congratulations, you win a pack of Haribos. Doodle-doodle-doo. Brilliant. Well done, Lydia, and well done for popping up there. Any more messages we can put on there? We can. Oh yes, and Mr. Griffiths has just joined. Okay. Good morning, Mr. Griffiths, this morning. Right, so let's crack on with this. So we've decided we're on cos. So we're going to go cos. Adjacent is going to be 14. Oh, the cos of theta equals adjacent over hypotenuse, which is 19. 14 over 19. Okay, so we've got 1 mark for choosing cos. Oh, I'm jumping the gun here. Let's just write cos out first. Cos equals adjacent over hypotenuse. Okay, then copy that. That's 1 mark for choosing cos, 1 mark for subbing in, and then as we've just learnt, because we're finding an angle, we need cos minus 1. And Casio like the brackets, So whack that in the calculator. Don't forget the shift. You should see a little s there, yeah, when the shift comes on. So cos, that gives you -1. 14 over 19. I like to use the word out of for fractions because over doesn't really explain anything. Cursor back to beginning. Does that look like that? Yes, it does. Press equals 42.5. So theta equals 42.5 degrees rounded to 1 dp. Okay, that's fantastic. So last question. I'll whiz through this, okay, and then we're done for this morning. Okay, so let's have a little look at this one then. So we've got the angle here marked with the theta. This time we've got the opposite and the next to the angle adjacent. So what we've got to do here, corrosive man is spreading fear through Gotham City, and these are the two measurements we've got, and we've got to find that angle. Corrosive man. So so what we're going to do now is Sokotoa. Real top tip here, learn those words and also learn the spelling for it as well, because that is important. So we've got adjacent and opposite. No hypotenuse this time. So we're looking at tan. Adjacent, opposite, adjacent, opposite, adjacent, opposite. Yep. So tan. Write it out in full without any information. Another top tip, I don't always do this, but I should. This line here goes in between the equals, so that's the opposite is higher up than the adjacent. It's good to do that. It's good practice. I don't always do that, but I should do. Okay, so then put our values in. So tan theta equals opposite 5 over adjacent 14, and then we need the -1 bit, brackets, simply because Casio like us to do that. Remember shift, tan to the -1, 5 over 14, close brackets. Does that look like that? Okay, does that look like that? Yep. Press equals 19.6, but that 5 makes that 6 go to 7, so 19.7 degrees. Okay, rounded to 1 decimal place. One last tip before I go is always have a look at your answer to see if it's right. Well, if you get this answer to be like, I don't know, 0.0005 degrees, you know that's going to be way wrong because it's such a small angle. But 19.7 is about right. This is longer than that, so therefore it's going to be a shallow angle, so 19.7 is a correct answer. So always have a look at the answer to see if it relates to what you're working on. That's brilliant. So I'm sure Mr Griffiths has got his podcasts or his live event later on today. Perhaps you can have a little look at that on the web page, and I'll be back tomorrow. Oh no, I won't be back tomorrow because I'm in school tomorrow, but I'll be back Wednesday, and I'll post up what the next topic will be. I'm going to do a live event every day when I'm not in school, so I think I'll relate it to what trigonometry is, but I'll post it on the website on tomorrow night what the next topic will be. And also, if you want to watch this live stream again, you will be able to, because I'm going to save the event, and I'm also going to upload the worksheet that we've done today for further reference. Okay, that's it, and hopefully you'll see that trigonometry is on the whole a pretty easy subject, and actually once you've done a few of them and got the gist of it, it's relatively easy marks. So without further ado, I'm going to leave you with the Proclaimers, and I'll see you on Wednesday for the next podcast.
wake up, well I know I'm gonna be the man who wakes up next to you. When I go out, yeah I know I'm gonna be the man who goes along with you. If I get drunk, well I know I'm gonna be the man who gets drunk next to you. And if I haver, yeah I know I'm gonna be the man who's havering to you.